Welcome to the Wolfpacker.com wrestling podcast. We're here today with the Wolfpacker.com wrestling reporter, Brian Reinhardt, formerly covered wrestling at NC State, and former Wolfpack All-American, Tariq Wilson. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Carolina match. But first, we're going to Brian's going to ask Tariq a few questions here because some kid wrestled Sherman at Carolina may be wrestling Arrington this weekend.
I was going to say there's a lot of ties when you mention UNC wrestling Tariq Wilson. He's faced him many times, but I think before we moved into UNC, Wolfpack fans just want to know, Tariq, we saw you at NCAA's last match, 7th place finish. What have you been up to and kind of what are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm finishing up grad school. I'm in my last semester of my master's program at NC State. While doing that, I'm the grad assistant helping out the wrestling team. So I'm in there every day with the guys, practicing, giving out advice, just making sure that everyone's comfortable and they're learning the technique and just being one of those guys who they can come to talk to if they're like scared to talk to the coaches or the coaches aren't around. I'm still one of the guys that they can, have a voice to, and I'll listen and then I'll relay it to the coaches in any form possible.
Any freestyle aspirations upcoming?
Since Hayden has come out of retirement and freestyle, there has been some people saying like, "Yeah, Tariq, why don't you, come out, do the U.S. Open, come out of retirement and do some freestyle?" But I just don't see myself right now. I'm enjoying myself too much of not competing. I think I'll get that fire. Maybe I'll end up getting that fire back in me and ready to do a freestyle run and take my talents to freestyle world and see what I can do. But as of right now, I'm just enjoying myself and helping out the guys.
Could you see yourself going to coaching?
That's another question I get asked a lot. Do you see yourself going to coaching? If the opportunity arises, I'll definitely stick my hand out and get a feel for it. And because I have knowledge and I'm able to give it out. And when I do explain, I explain well and guys receive it well. So I don't think I would be that bad at coaching, but we'll just have to see whatever the future holds.
You are the elder statesman. You've been around the program a long time, but I want to ask you, we saw you in the stands last week at the pit duel, sitting in the stands, kind of getting to watch a duel from a fan's perspective. What did you think of the environment, the crowd, and do you enjoy watching wrestling a little bit different when you're in the stands now?
I actually do like watching it in the stands better than sitting on the bench. On the bench, I still have tendencies to move myself and then get into the positions, but it was a great environment to watch the guys compete, especially against Pitt and beating them at home and Reynolds with a good crowd like that. It was just awesome just to have that feel, and it's just different, especially when you're not competing, just to sit in the stands and just feel the crowd and look around. You get to see everyone and get to hear all the noises. Like when you're wrestling, you're in there focusing on, okay, I got to compete. This is my match. I got to go out there focus. But since I've been in the stands, I get to see everyone's reaction and how the energy they bring and the chants, and I get to go along with it. So it's definitely a change, but it's a good change.
We had Rock Harrison on last week, talk about Pitt. Wanted you on this week. We're going to talk UNC, like we have said, but I thought it was great to get a wrestler's perspective too on certain things. And one thing, notice from the pit duel, the bout started at 141. NC State picked that. Trombley, Kairini, they both got a little bit time to rest up after that weigh-in. You are somebody that had to cut some weight to get to some of your different weight classes. What's the feeling when you get that extra hour and a half? Do you get more energized? Does it make a difference? Or is that just something announcers like to say?
No, it definitely does give you time for your body to digest the food and the drinks in your stomach. Given that extra time, once you're right up like Ryan was, you don't get to eat as much. You got to be wary of what you're putting in. If you put too much in, you don't want to feel bloated and then go out there and feel a little sluggish. So that extra hour or so that wrestlers have, depending on where you start at, is definitely is beneficial for both parties in the wrestling. Either you're wrestling for instance State and Pitt. Like it helps both teams because the guys are essentially at their best. They're most likely 4 or 5 pounds over the weight, so they feel a lot better, a lot of energy going on, and there's a lot of action. So it's definitely beneficial when people say, yeah, the guy needs an extra hour. He got an extra hour. Let's see, he comes out shooting, going hard, like wrestling hard. So yeah, it's definitely something that can work in your favor.
Put you on the spot here. If you were wrestling this Friday night, what weight would we see you at?
If I was wrestling this Friday night, it would be I can make 165 the easiest, probably the same. Like if I needed to the same day, I can make 165. But if I needed to cut weight, it'd probably 157. So right now I can jump on the scale, make 165. If the team needed me and I needed to cut weight, it'd be 157.
Okay. He told me 149 Tariq was a lot friendlier, a lot happier than 133 Tariq. Looking back, do you still think that?
I actually do. I think the weight cut and me just being a taller 133 pounder really I think me being excited and energized. I think I didn't have that much energy, especially cutting weight. I was like, oh, I'm sluggish. I just don't want to be bothered. But the more I got to go up in weight classes, the more energy I got, and I just felt better, especially last year. My last wrestling year, I just felt good. Didn't have any worries. Was just out there having fun. Didn't cut a lot of weight. Usually I was underweight the day before, so going out there and I could laugh and joke with the guys and experience that. Now I see why the heavier guys, like the heavyweights, they're always smiling and laughing.
I remember the negotiations to get you to come back for a 6th year with Pat. That included going up a weight class. I think everybody will say it paid off. All-American, ACC championship. We're going to start talking about Carolina here, and they actually have 2 guys that were in your boat, and I wanted to ask you about that. You have Zach Sherman and Clay Lout. They're still over there. They're in their 6 seasons, but they haven't wrestled as much this year, maybe a little bit injury prone. So you wrestled this 6th year. How hard was it in your 6th year compared to your freshman year as a college wrestler?
It's definitely harder on the body. Coming back 6 years, 4 years, 5 years is already taxing on the body, but that extra 6 years is definitely something that really gets to the body. And if you overtrain or train, your training schedule and how you train has to be adjusted because you've been in there so long. So if you are wary of that, so you would have to, as we did when I was in my 6th year, match management. I didn't wrestle all the time. I wrestled certain matches just because it's just a long process. We go from, was it December to March? That's long period, some months where we have to go back and forth wrestling, cutting weight, eating, practicing. So I can say there is a change of cheering towards the 6-year guys, saying like, okay, you guys don't have to go, don't have to compete this week. Training switches it up, and yeah. So there is changes that have to be made for the guys to feel their best and compete at that level.
College wrestling a young man's game, then you would think?
College wrestling is a young man's game. The older you get, you see it, the older people get, the more injury prone they become because their bones and their body. It's a lot of the sport itself, wrestling, without being years. Like if you're wrestling in it for 10, 15 years at a young age, it starts to catch up. Your body is like, okay, this is wearing me down. Your bones start to brittle. Your muscles start to ache. Now I go into practice and I wake up the next morning like, well, why is my back hurting? What did I do? Then I remember like, okay, I wrestle with the young guys and they're the spring chicken.
Yeah.
I'm 72. I feel like that all the time. I'm not doing anything. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Carolina match. There are a couple of things I was noting. We're 9-0 in our last matches against Carolina, and we're coming in this match ranked number 5 in the dual team rankings, and they have dropped out. In matchups against the same teams, they lost to App State, and then we beat App State. Pitt beat them 21 to 11, and then we beat Pitt 23-9, and then we lost 19-16 to Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech beat them 28-8. So on paper, we should do real well. But let's go through some of these matches. I'll just tell you a little briefly about it, and y'all can take it from here. But interesting match at 125. Jared Trombley is 4-0. He wins this match, he'd be the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament. But he's ranked number 20, and the kid he's wrestling is a transfer from Northern Iowa who's ranked 24th. So how do you see that match, Brian, and what do you and Tariq?
Well, I was going to say, Stu, I had to laugh there because Matt obviously did not share my preview with you yet. I personally don't see a need to wrestle Trombley this weekend. Okay. I feel like he has the number 1 seed already locked up. As we said, he's a little bit of a bigger guy, so why make him cut weight? I mean, just my opinion. Tariq, what do you say if you're not just Trombley's case, but would you sit a guy in the last regular season? Do you want him out there? What do you think about some of the situations?
I just see I would definitely sit him out in my preference, just because he is cutting weight. He is one of the older guys. He's already have the number 1 seed locked up. There's no actual need to risk it for him to go out there and compete, unless we actually needed it, state needed it. Then I would say, okay, throw him out there. But we could use this opportunity to see how one of the young guys responds. I know Troy as a younger guy, he's a freshman. See how he responds against going out there and competing. One thing I have to say about UNC, even though they have lost to similar opponents that we've either beaten or lost to, when it comes to UNC, they always give us our best match. When we wrestle, state wrestles UNC. On paper, it's like, okay, state should win X amount of matches, but the matches are intense. They're one wrong move and UNC takes the advantage. So every time we wrestled them, I always kept it in mind, like, okay, they're going to give us our best match of the year. Like, we're their best match. It doesn't matter. It's like their NCAA finals for them wrestling NC State.
Stu, Tariq knows best. I mean, he's wrestled them 4 times in a duel. No bonus point wins. They were all decisions. I don't know if you remember that. Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up.
I do remember. I remember. I remember the one year I was a freshman, and Pat made us a friendly bet. It was me, Mock, and then someone else. He said, "Listen, if you guys get a major, I'll cook dinner for you guys at my house." And I said, I was like, "Are you serious?" He was like, "Yeah." Like, but if you guys lose, you guys owe me dinner. And I was like, all right. I'll make this bet. I'll go out there and I'll go get the major. And then I got off the mat. And Mock got off the mat. We're like, man, okay, where you want dinner at? Where do you want dinner at? It's your choice. Bet is a bet. But at the same time, you can go out there thinking you're going to score 8, 10, 12 points, but then it's a close match and you're fighting tooth and nail just to score points. And that's what it really gets. That's exciting for me. I've been in so many close matches that, like, I like being the pressure being on me and how will I respond in this match. So,
how about just you personally? I got one more.
Yeah.
While we go, just you personally, coming from Ohio, though, what did the NC State UNC rivalry mean to you when you were a student athlete?
I personally, I have no ill will or ill intentions against UNC. If you walk around campus, you'll hear a lot of people say, "Our heels, ill. I hate them. Just something about them. I just can't stand." Me personally, I didn't have any ill will when it came to just them as a school. But when it comes to competing, that's a different thing. It was competing. It was NC State versus UNC. I have to put on for my school. I have to go out there and fight tooth and nail and show that we're dominant and we're not letting up. So, besides just on the personal level, there is no ill will between me. I have no.
Okay. Well, you're a nice guy, so I expected that kind of answer. But perfect analysis opportunity. 141, one of the featured bouts. Top 10. Number 6, Ryan Jack. Number 9, McNeil. Jack is coming off a tough loss to Matthews. You were actually in the room with Ryan this morning. Talk about his mentality going into another top battle for himself.
He's just. He's actually focused on improvement on the areas in his match against Cole Matthews, where he didn't get to finish, so he's been working that. But right now he's relaxed. He's just ready to go. It's fresh out of his mind. Now he knows he has a new opponent, someone that's tough. McNeil's tough. He's not some guy that you can just look over. He will battle and it'll be tooth and nail. And just the guy who has completely wrestled the 7 minutes will prevail. So he's not overlooking him, but he's Ryan right now. He's iron sharpened iron, and he's focused and he's locked in and dialed in and ready to compete.
Do you feel like he's one of the most improved guys in the room that you've seen?
This year, absolutely. Absolutely. Ryan has made big gains from finishing off NCAAs last year and then coming into this year, and just the way he's been looking at it, looking to score points, wrestling, asking questions, and more focus. I think he has himself improved a lot in a short amount of time.
Moving up to 149, I know Stu wants you to ask about this guy. You faced him, I think you were 6-1 or 7-1 against him. Zach Sherman from UNC. You guys fought off in 3 different weight classes too. So just like you, he is still there. I can't believe that. I don't know how many years eligible he has left, but I said he's been in and out of the lineup this year, so not sure if he's going to go, but Pack has freshman Jackson Arrington. What makes Sherman such a good wrestler, and what did he do that gave you fits over all the years?
I say he was good at level changing. His level change, if you don't respect it, he will shoot in and grab the leg and score. So you have to be wary of his level changes and make sure that you level change with him, match his level. Because if not, that's a big mistake. Especially, and he knows how to wrestle. He knows your style of wrestling. We wrestled so many times. Like, he knew what I liked and I knew what he liked. So it was a chess match of who is going to make the wrong move at what point and how to capitalize. So he's an all around. He's a good wrestler, and he just knows how to keep things close. And that's when he's able to score. He can go up big moves if he need to, if it's or he can score, or he can, just keep the pace, control the pace. So that's what makes him.
How would Jackson need to wrestle against him?
Jackson, to overcome Sherman, Jackson would have to be solid. Don't get too eager. Go out there, because if you do, he'll use that opportunity to score. Like I'm saying, either shoot the double or single, and then you guys are in the scramble. I think he would have to keep the pressure on him, stay in his face, but we be wary of his level changes and where he can attack. But I think Jackson can definitely overcome that. And if Jackson gets to his offense early on, Jackson will have to ride tough. That's another thing. Jackson will definitely have to ride tough. Sherman is explosive off bottom. He will get to his feet several different times. You would have to mat return him, just to keep pressure down, just to get that riding time point. So that would be something that Jackson will have to capitalize on his feet and make sure he's able to pressure forward and get the riding time.
I know all college wrestlers are different, but when you were a college wrestler, did you like facing a guy like Sherman that you fought so many times, or were you kind of like Jackson's perspective where this is the first time he's seen a guy?
I was aware that we've wrestled, and as you were saying, like, we wrestled so many times over the years, 6, 7, 8 times. It's hard. One of those matches, someone will win. You can beat a guy 5 times, but 6th time he may beat you. So I felt confident wrestling against him, but I was also worried that, like, this is the 7th, 8th time we've wrestled, so anything can go. I'm not already overlooking him like, okay, this is a surefire win. This is going to be a battle, and if things go my way, for things to go my way, I have to wrestle sound, I have to be complete, and I have to do everything correct.
You said you were wrestling with Ryan Jack this morning. What other guys have you been working with recently in the NC State room?
When I'm in the practice room, I jump from weight to weight. I can wrestle from 25, where I can go up to 97, 84. It just depends on who needs me at the time being and what the partners are looking like. Okay. So I end up wrestling with Ed some, Jackson. Recently, I've been wrestling with Singleton, Maddie. So those are the guys that I wrestle frequently and more often than anyone else.
Ed Scott, huge battle. Number 7 Scott, number 2 Austin O'Connor. And O'Connor might be the best wrestler right now, hottest in the country. I think 14 straight bonus points. They faced each other before. What do you think, Ed's perspective? How do you like Ed's chances in this one?
I think for his matchup with Ed, I think it's good for Ed. In the past couple weeks, I think him and O'Connor and Andonian wrestled. Forgetting his name, for Andonian wrestled, and O'Connor got the best of him. But I think for Ed, wrestling a guy like O'Connor, who it doesn't really hit big moves, it's more I'm gonna wear you down and then score my points. I think that's better for a style for wrestling with Ed, especially getting out of that front head. He utilizes it well, and that's where he wears the guys down, especially being in that position as a defensive guy. Wears on your back, your stance, So I think the chances of I like the chances with Ed, but it's going to be a dogfight. As I was saying, it's going to be a dogfight. They wrestled last year in the ACC finals. O'Connor, from what had been heard, wasn't as healthy going into the ACCs or NCAAs. But this year, he's back and he's wrestling well. So if Ed wants to overcome that challenge, he has to wrestle sound, be complete, and get to his offense. If he lets O'Connor control the match, it's going to go O'Connor's way. But if Ed controls the match and wrestles how he wants, and it's just razor sharp and gets to his dump or his underhook series, he'd be able to put points up.
It was interesting last week when Rock Harrison was on here. He said Austin O'Connor told him he had 2 matches circled on his wrestling calendar, Virginia Tech, and he got a major there against Andonian, and Ed Scott. So we'll see what happens.
That's something that I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people, especially since him and Ed wrestled, like I said, in ACC finals, and he lost to Ed, and in such a fashion that he didn't think that it was acceptable. So having a big circle around Ed's name, I wouldn't be surprised. But Ed's ready to wrestle, and he's not backing down from any opportunity, and he's ready to face it head on and running forward.
Have you been Ed locked and practiced?
In my past, not recently I haven't,
Okay.
but in the past when I was lighter, I have got Ed locked one time.
One time. I like how you threw that in there. One time,
and then was one time only.
How
He caught me off guard.
How tight is that headlock?
It is pretty tight. You can pass out. That's how tight it is. Yeah. But as soon as I got there, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta hurry up and get off my back, and somehow I got out of it. But it is tight. He is pretty good with the headlocks. They do call it the headlock for a reason.
Another matchup I think we're all looking forward to, and one we've seen before, 184, Trent Hidley, number 3, number 11, Gavin Kane. These two met last year. They met in the ACC final. So at the ACC's loaded at this weight class. I think this is my favorite one, 5 guys in the top 17. And Trent, everybody knows he's been tremendous this year with that offense, but Kane has given a lot of guys a lot of problems. You able to think about this match? How has Trent been doing? Contrast of styles here for sure.
It's definitely a contrast of styles, especially the way Trent wrestles. Trent's more square, straightforward, pushes the pace. And I think Gavin, if I'm not mistaken, he likes to wrestle out in the open, and he'll hand fight, get his movement fakes. So with Trent will have to utilize his hook in different areas in different ways. I think a lot of guys are understanding that Trent's underhook is the real deal, and it's something that you have to be wary of. So they wrestle him a certain way, whether it's putting his arm behind the back or even putting their arm inside the inner thigh to wrestle him. But Trent still gets to his offense, and he's great at getting to that underhook. But I think Trent will have to utilize different attacks, using it different ways, setting it up to where it's most efficient. And on the opposite end, Gavin, you have to be wary of it, will have to get move Trent, get his body square from that square stance. He's a brick. I've drilled with. It's hard to move. Hard to move Trent once he starts getting that stance. So Gavin will definitely have to do that, and I would see it starting off slow, but towards the second, third period, I think that's when more points will be scored. More points will be scored, more action, and Trent will definitely come out on top.
Not just because of the opponent, but this time of year, how hard was it to focus on this last duel, knowing that this team is so close to the ACC's NCAA championships, and you're worried about seeding, you're worried about, are you going to qualify? Is it hard to concentrate on the last duel of the year?
As an athlete, I didn't really think about, okay, this is the last duel, I got to worry about seeds. I was more focused at, okay, there's an opponent in front of me, I have to focus on that. Once I start looking too far ahead, my mind starts wandering off, like, okay, if I win this, I'm the third seed. On the second seed, I'll have to wrestle X, Y, and Z, whoever. So focusing on just that one person in the moment, the next match, I think that was my best mindset that I've had since for college. Just focus on what's now rather than the future. We can't control the future. Some things might happen. Things don't work out all the time. Things change. But what we can control is something that's in the moment and right now.
Yeah, just one thing is, how important was the UNC match to Pat? How bad did he want to beat the Tar Heels?
Pat always wants to beat them just because they keep saying it's a rivalry. As you said, we're 9-0. It's not really a rivalry, but it's for bragging rights. If UNC wins, it won't hear the last of it. So we make sure that every opportunity that happens, that we wrestle them, we make sure to make a statement. We make sure that we get the win, and we get a win is a win, but we got to do it in a fashion that it shows dominance. Pat doesn't put too much emphasis on it, but he just makes us know that, hey, this is a rivalry. We're going right now. We're leaving, and it's at their place. So they might not have the biggest crowd, but big win from and at their own turf would be a good thing for them.
I was going to say, I don't want this question to sound bad. I don't want bulletin board material, but wrestling in Reynolds has been fantastic. You go over to Chapel Hill, and one, I don't think it's an arena for wrestling. I think it's way too big to begin with, but then the crowd could be a little smaller sometimes and spread out. Was it harder to wrestle over there sometimes, comparing it to Reynolds, where the home crowd is just giving you guys that extra boost of energy?
I would definitely have to say the arena there is definitely difficult to wrestle in. The atmosphere is not the same as Reynolds. They're like you said, it's not really a wrestling environment. It's more towards basketball. And we usually have more fans than them show up anyway whenever we wrestle at UNC. But I would definitely have to say that it's difficult. But you have to get yourself motivated even if the crowd isn't there. So we have to do something, listen to music. People have their own techniques of getting ready for a match, and that's what you have to do.
Stu, should we get them out of here with a prediction?
I was already thinking, like, each of you guys, and you could just say, you pick a score, how many matches that each team will win.
Let's go. Tariq, what are you looking at this, being in the room? Kind of, what are you feeling for this Friday night?
What am I feeling for this Friday night? My heart is telling me clean sweep 10-0.
I was going to say 60-0 too. 60-0, win all 10 matches.
Okay, we're gonna bet a supper on that.
A clean sweep 10-0. But things happen. I'd say 8-2 NC State. Yeah, I think there might be two matches where things don't go our way, but I think for the most part, we'll go out there, handle business, and take the win in the environment and come back to Raleigh.
I think it's important to say too, you might say 8-2, you might say 7-3, but as you said earlier, a lot of these matches are just going to be close. There could be a couple takedowns at the buzzer that are going to decide it. So this is a matchup everybody always looks forward to. NC State, UNC, Friday night, 7:00 on the ACC network if you can't get over to Chapel Hill. But Tariq, I think it was great to get your perspective. I know you were on the ACC Network Extra broadcast, so you might be starting a broadcasting career now. So hopefully some of these podcast interviews just help you build that resume and get your name out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brian, what are you picking tomorrow night?
You know, I usually don't do predictions, but I'm kind of like Tariq. I'm more the 7-3-ish right now, I believe. But a lot of these matches, I believe it could be a one takedown bout in the third period. You know, riding time could decide some. It's going to be close. There's not many blowouts when you're looking at this on paper right now. So I think it's going to be great to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Stu, I appreciate you having us on again. This is great talking NC State wrestling for the Wolfpacker. We enjoy it. And Tariq, thank you very much for joining us, and get those guys motivated. Get them ready for UNC this weekend.
I sure will. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great job, Tariq.
Thank you.